but I know the answer. Medieval men and women were very superstitious. They believed the world was going to end by the year 1500, the half millennium. They believed it was going to be the second coming of Christ, the end of the world. So, when it was 1495, and the bishop came to town and said, brothers, what are you doing? You can't do this. You've got 5 years left. You're not getting into heaven. But if you kick the girls out, stop the drinking, give me the money to pay for the restoration of the church, maybe, just maybe I can get you back in. They believed him and they did everything he said. It's very, very sad indeed. But the good news is, the world did not end by 1500. Huzzah! Huzzah. The bad news is, not a single decent party has been had inside that building since that date. It's a waste of a church, if you ask me. And we're going over here, literally about 3 meters. Is everybody here? Anybody not here, just shout out. My friends, the beautiful pump rooms of Bath. This is one of the first pieces of Palladian architecture in the city. 1705, they start constructing this beautiful, beautiful building, which is in operation today, as you can see, as England's most expensive cafe. I'm lying, but it is Bath's most expensive cafe. But it is stunning. It's one big, enormous room. I do recommend you put your head in, have a look, come back outside immediately. But it is beautiful indeed. But my friends, this building was used for 2 reasons. When people came to Bath in the Georgian period, 1700s, they would come here to swim next door in the Roman baths and come here and drink a tankard of that famous water. Laura, where are you? She's still here? She's still here, good. A tankard of that water every single morning they were here. Why? Because they were told it would cure them of any illness they had. But did anybody ever get well? No. Anybody ever die from the water? Yes, quite a few people. Did anybody ever get pregnant from the water? No, that's not how that works, people. You'll have to look that up later on, I'm afraid. But it is very, very strange. But this building was used for a second reason, more importantly. Because Bath became famous because of the water, famous people came here to enjoy themselves. The royal family came here on a regular basis. All the lords and ladies came here. All the rich people of the country came here every single year. And because they came here, everyone else came here to try and make money off them. Which is where this building becomes really, really important. Because people would come here in the morning, drink the water, dress beautifully like I am today, walk around, parading themselves around, going up to anybody they like the look of and saying hello. Shall we meet later on for a private party? I think we ought to. But what they're really doing, my friends, they're trying to find a new rich wife or husband because the old ones just died. They haven't got any money and they're not going to work for a living, but the new rich people came here. So they would literally come here to find themselves a new rich wife or husband. But remembering this is the most expensive cafe in town, if you speak to the people who live here today, they will tell you this building is still being used for exactly the same purpose today. So if you're looking for a new rich wife or husband, come here later on. Yeah. Behind me, the crossbar, 13th century construction. The temperature inside there is 44 degrees centigrade. Across the road there is the hot bath. Originally the temperature is 49 degrees, also 13th century. But these two are part of this modern complex called the Therm Bath Spa, quite literally a modern day version of the Roman bath itself. However, my friends, it is expensive to get in here. It's very busy, but it's very, very expensive. We're standing in a very special space. You wouldn't find this space unless you came on a tour of mine or that sort of description. This is, well, it's quite beautiful. It's actually an almshouse. It's part of St. John's Hospital. They've been here since the 12th century looking after the poor and elderly residents of the city. It's still in operation today. We love it immensely, which is why I'm being a bit quieter, a bit more respectful. So people are living in these apartments right now, but it is beautiful. However, I really brought you here to show you the architecture, actually. It's quite nice, isn't it? This is the first job designed by the famous Bath architect John Wood, 1726. I show you this, which is quite nice. But then I show you job number 2 by the same man, and at that point you'll be going, ooh. Job number 3, you'll be going, ooh. Job number 4, you will be crying with what I'm showing you and the beauty and majesty this man has created. You will be crying, trust me. You've probably noticed that every single building so far has been made of stone, isn't it? Same colour stone. And it's the same type of stone. It's known as oolitic limestone. The real thing about this particular space and the story of the stone is that the man who owns the 3 mines where this stone comes from, locally by the way, he owns them all. His name is Ralph Allen. He gets together with this man, John Wood, who's built this. They form a partnership and a bit of a monopoly. Ralph Allen, the man who owns all the stone, right? He starts serving the city as mayor and minister of parliament. What a nice man. But whilst he's serving the city, he serves himself by changing a few of the laws, making sure for about a 45-year period, which happens to be the same time when most of the city is actually built, no other material except stone is allowed to be used for construction. His stone, nothing else, right? Friends, this is the original entrance to the theatre. Take away the railings and the grass, you can imagine carriages arriving with lords and ladies inside, hundreds of wax candles in those windows glittering away in the nighttime sky. Quite a magnificent building. This time, 1805. Ooh. The original owners decide they want something special, something beautiful to really show off this beautiful theatre. They decide they must have the biggest, most expensive chandelier you can buy. They put it into place in here in the theatre. It is stunning. Central location. They sit down with their wives, their mistresses, champagne in hand for the very first production on the first night. It's going to be exciting. And then they turn around to each other to ask one simple question, which is this: can you see the stage, sir? The answer was, mate, I can't see nothing. Your chandelier's in the way, isn't it? This thing is so big, it blocks from view a central part of the stage. It's ridiculous. So, what do they do about it? They raise the roof, lower the stage, get rid of the chandelier, get a smaller one? Anything sensible? No. It is still there today. If you go online and have a look at the photographs of this beautiful chandelier, it is there. But what they have to do, before every performance, they have to winch it up on a chain to the top of the ceiling, wait for the performance to finish, and then winch it back down again every single night. Now we're going down this way, please, turning right at the corner there to see something else large and stupid. My friends, I promise you something large and stupid over there, an obelisk. You see it? Do you see it? Of course you can see it. But this is a special obelisk. It was put there by the gambling king of Bath, Richard Beaunash, because his good friend, the Prince of Wales, came to town in 1736. He said, come to town, please, princey boy. The prince came. He made sure he had a good time. He made sure he won on the gambling tables, of course. He made sure he had a really good time. But he also paid for this obelisk to be placed in a principal location in the city. That was how willing he was to make sure that the city did very well and gained a reputation of being a place where the Prince of Wales, for example, the royal family, would come on a regular basis. And this helped the city grow and become more important. It also increased Richard Beaunash's name around the whole country. So it really was quite a large piece of self-advertising, something large and stupid, I did promise you. Over this way, please, not far. We are standing in job number 2 by John Wood. Remember job number 1, the small courtyard? I promised you number 2 would be a little bit better, a little bit bigger. All 4 sides. This is Queen Square, built in 1728. This was job number 2. It's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit better. But this time it's John Wood and his son, John Wood the Younger. He loved him so much he named him after himself. On the northern side, my friends. This is a success, however. John Wood the Elder liked it so much, he lived in the middle house there. It does look like a palace, does it not? Where the blue door is. He lives there for many, many years, but he lives there, my friends, with his live-in mistress. And she was young, she was beautiful, and she was rich. Her name was Frances Braddock. She had inherited £1 million in today's money. but she had lost it all through gambling. She decided, Frances, that she would kill herself. And she did so in that building. She hung herself famously. However, they will tell you she's still there today. She haunts that building. She's known in Bath to be the Bride of Death. You don't want to go there, do you? Over on the western side, my friends, do have a look at the western side. This should be one long line of building, but it's not. It's three distinct Palladian villas. They had to make compromises. The middle one, however, is not even the original. That was replaced in the late 1800s by an inferior piece of architecture designed by an inferior architect. On the south side, the glorious Francis Hotel. It is stunning. However, unfortunately, this again is not the original, as that was unfortunately bombed by accident in 1942. It was a big mistake, don't worry about that. On the eastern side, this is a disaster. It looks nice, but it's horrible. You'll notice the slope, the small hill there. They couldn't afford to level the ground. If you look at the middle building, compromises were made. You'll notice the windows are completely different from the other windows from the other buildings, yes? These windows are not even Georgian in style, my friends. They're actually Victorian. This was a residence, by the way, of a famous novelist. Has anyone ever heard of Jane Austen? Silly question, probably. She lived there famously with her mother for 3 months. They couldn't afford the rent and they had to move out. There you go, my friends. Huddle up, keep warm, keep warm. Now, we were in Queen Square, job number 2 by John Wood. We are now in job number 3 by John Wood. Look around, the circus. This is the point you should be going, ooh. This is the circus. This is perfectly circular. It is quite unique, this space. It is full of mystery and secret passions as well. Built in 1754 by John Wood and John Wood, the same year that the elder John Wood dies, but he pours all his secrets into what you see around you. Excellent, because this will now make more sense to you. John Wood the elder, we know, was obsessed with Stonehenge, really obsessed, had some strange ideas, and we're pretty sure he was a Freemason, a member of this secret organization. There's 2 rings of circles at Stonehenge. The outer ring has exactly 30 stones. There are exactly 30 numbered houses here. But then, have a look at the decorative frieze. The top bit on the first story there, you will see symbols carved into the stonework there. Some of those symbols to do with nature, art and science, but many of them are Masonic order symbols being directly shown to the public. That's quite unusual. But then, have a look at the roofs, my friends. See all the acorns everywhere. And then you remember the story about those hungry piggies and the acorns and the trail to get those piggies out of the water. But the strangest thing of all is the final thing. We were in Queen Square just before, weren't we? Perfectly square. We've just walked up a street called Gay Street, which was built by John Wood the Younger in the late 1770s. It is perfectly straight. We are now in the Circus, built by both John Woods. If you were in a hot air balloon or a helicopter, you would look over the side, you would see Queen Square, Gay Street, and the Circus all together, and then the shape that would come out of the ground at you would be one enormous key for opening doors. It's another prominent Masonic symbol. Anyway, my friends, we're going to go over here and do something childish. This is the interactive part of the tour. No oohing now, but what we're going to do is try out a little bit of an experiment. We are in a perfect circle. You can measure the center of a perfect circle like this by doing a very basic, simple, and I call it quite childish thing. If you make a noise with your voice, your walking stick, or your hands, if you're lucky, you can get an echo. Sometimes might even sound like a gunshot if you do it properly, like this.
Oh.
Not bad, huh? 1, 2. That was really good, but I think we could do a little bit better. Well done. For the poor people. 1, 2. Awesome. And now we run. Straight down there, please. This is the final and most beautiful thing I can show you in the city. It is the most expensive set of houses in the city. It is the most exclusive, most famous, of course. Now, and the big sign over there says private. That's how expensive it is. It is mostly houses, however. In the middle, there is a hotel, the Royal Crescent, very expensive. Film stars stayed there on a regular basis. John Wood the Younger was a lazy, good-for-nothing genius boy. He inherited lots of money and his father's wisdom, but not his work ethic, shall we say. When you are employed to construct something like this, you have to build the outside, the inside, everything. But John Wood, the Younger, could only be bothered to do the very front of what you see today. He didn't do the back of the house. He didn't do the inside the house. They had to be finished off by other architects when the original purchasers bought their houses, which means most of these houses have been falling down since the day they were built. But it is worth, however, walking around behind this beautiful row of houses to see how different it is. It's very ugly. A little bit closer for the last one. 1970s. The woman who lives there, a very fine lady, she paints her front door yellow. She wants a colour change. The council come round. They knock on her door and say, "Hello, madam, we're the council." What are you doing? Paint that back to white, otherwise we're going to come back and fine you. She goes back inside, sits down, has a very nice cup of tea. This is England, and that's what we do in times of stress. We drink tea. It's true. A week later, she hasn't changed the colour of the front door. The council come round, knock on the door. "Madam, hello, we're the council. Do you remember me?" Paint that front door back, otherwise I'm going to take you to court and sue you. This time she goes back inside, sits down, has a very nice double gin and tonic. This is England, and that's what we do, right? Times of stress, we drink. Now the council, they take her to court. Boo. They try to sue her. Boo. The court finds in her favour. She wins the case. Huzzah. She goes one step further. She writes in her will, she's now sadly dead, that every owner who comes after her has to keep the same front door yellow for the rest of time, just to really annoy the council. This is England, and that's what we do, right? Huzzah. It's really good. But it's also very practical, my friends. If you're walking home after a big night out, and it's late at night at dark, and you live in one of the houses with the white doors, it's going to take you hours to get home, right? But you live in the yellow door, you're fine, you'll get home straight away. Very practical. My friends, that's the end of the tour. Hopefully you've enjoyed yourself and learned a couple of things. And do come back to Bath sometime, yes? I'm going to leave you here because that's just how mean I am. So, over to you.
Thanks. Well, yeah, thank you very much. We really enjoyed it. Did we enjoy it, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.